Welcome to the channel. My name is Michael CBC, and in this video we're doing the story of Chief Albert Luthuli. If you're new around these parts, please consider subscribing to the channel, and without wasting any time, let's get into it. Chief Albert Luthuli was the president of the African National Congress from 1952 to 1967. In 1960, he became the first African to receive the Nobel Peace Prize for his non-violent fight against racial injustice. There's always been uncertainty regarding the circumstances surrounding his death in 1967, which the government inquest at the time said happened when he was struck by a train. After the inquest into his death was reopened in 2024, the court determined the next year that Luthuli had been assaulted by apartheid-era police. A latecomer to politics, the chief was 54 when he assumed the leadership of the ANC. Over the course of his political career, his approach became increasingly militant, yet there is still no consensus about whether he approved the ANC's transition from a peaceful organization into one committed to the armed struggle. Albert Luthuli was born in a Seventh-day Adventist mission close to Bulawayo in 1898. When he was 10 years old, his mother sent him to the family's traditional home at Grootville Mission in Natal after his father passed away when he was still a baby. After that, Luthuli spent some time living with his uncle, Martin Luthuli, who was the Christian Zulu's elected chief at the time, and lived at the Umvoti Mission Reserve near Grootville. Luthuli took on the management of a tiny primary school in the Natal Uplands after completing a teaching course at Edendale, close to Pietermaritzburg. He became a lay preacher and was confirmed in the Methodist Church after becoming deeply aware of his faith for the first time. For the remainder of his life, the Bible language and Christian values had a significant impact on his political philosophy. He joined the training college staff in 1920 after receiving a government bursary to enroll in a higher teachers training program at Adams College. He taught alongside Z.K. Matthews, the head of Adams College High School at the time. Adams College was regarded as one of the top universities in Southern and Central Africa at this time. Luthuli turned down a scholarship opportunity to attend the University College of Fort Hare, in the hopes that his £10 monthly salary would assist his elderly mother. He decided to continue working as a teacher. Some college students found it difficult to make ends meet despite leading nearly exclusive and affluent lives. It is well known that Anton Lembede, who went on to create the NC Youth League, was in the best dressed. The Amakholwa, who were regarded as the middle class at the time, had a hard time. Black people were not allowed to pursue many other careers at the time, and teachers were paid poorly. Luthuli joined the Natal Native Teachers Union and was elected secretary in 1928 after demonstrating empathy for the issues faced by working people. By planning boycotts and negotiating with white authorities, he gained invaluable political experience. The American Board Mission's advocacy of muscular Christianity and the importance of a strong mind in a healthy body created the perfect setting for the blending of indigenous and Western cultures. The most popular sport at the time was football, and as a young faculty member, Luthuli was appointed secretary and manager of the Adams College football team, the Shooting Stars. Luthuli acknowledged that, except for the occasional game of tennis, he did not enjoy sports. The American Board Mission had established other football teams, including Ocean Swallows of Umbumbulu, established in the 1880s, Natal Cannons of Inanda, 1890s, and Bushbucks of Ifafa, 1902. This institutional support and promotion of sports is consistent with and lies at the heart of Victoria, England's rational recreation movement. The notion spread throughout Natal and the Transvaal, demonstrating Luthuli's success in popularizing athletics as a means of earning a good living. Numerous previous Adams peoples went on to play and serve as officials in the two provinces' football leagues and teams. The Zulu-speaking Clerks, known as Mabalanes, created the Witwatersrand District Native Football Association. These clubs, which were organized along ethnic lines, were supported by mine management because they were seen to have the ability to keep natives wholesomely amused. In addition to using free time and highlighting their privileged position, club membership fostered a sense of commitment to the mine. Regarding their identity, Luthuli and the Mabalanes conveyed a deep cultural ambiguity that balanced traditionalist and contemporary experiences. Luthuli was asked to take on the role of chief in his ancestral hamlet of Grootville while he was immersed in this blend of Western ideals and remnants of traditionalist life. At first, he rejected the local elders' request that they assume the chieftaincy. In 1935, Luthuli gave in to pressure from his tribe's elders and accepted the chieftaincy of Grootville Reserve. He then went back home to work as a tribal affairs administrator. He spent 17 years immersed in his people's local issues, organizing African cane growers to protect their own interests and arbitrating and settling local disputes. In the early years of his chieftaincy, Luthuli became immersed in the struggles of the cane growers in his chiefdom. At this stage, the South African Cane Growers Association, established in August 1927, dominated the production and marketing of sugar cane. Various other associations were established to represent the interests of African, colored, and Indian sugar cane growers. It is possible that Luthuli became involved with African cane growers, defending their interests. During this period in South African history, the process of land dispossession was largely piecemeal, with Africans resisting total expropriation by finding creative ways of securing access to land. However, by the middle of the 1940s, many African growers had been marginalized, and the government had turned on Indian growers. In an effort to relegate Indian producers to wage labor, the government passed the Asiatic Land Tenure and the Indian Representation Act in 1946. The new bill was opposed by the ANC, the Transvaal Indian Congress, and the Natal Indian Congress. On March 9, 1947, Dr. A.B. Xuma, president of the ANC, Dr. G.M. Naker, president of the Natal Indian Congress, and Dr. Y.M. Dadu, president of the Transvaal Indian Congress, signed a joint declaration of cooperation that became known as the Three Doctors Pact in an effort to rally support for a campaign to oppose these measures. Luthuli first saw African political issues firsthand through small altercations with the European Authority. During this time, he also traveled outside of South Africa, serving as a delegate to an international missionary conference in India in 1938 and spending 9 months in the United States on a church-sponsored trip in 1948. At this stage, Luthuli was being gradually eased into a political involvement, transcending his role as a chief. Sensing that the ANC in Natal was moribund and aware of the leadership vacuum created by the illness and death of John L. Dube in 1946, Luthuli became actively involved in strengthening the organization. Beginning his career in national politics, Luthuli defeated Selby Msimang in a by-election for a successor to Dube on the Natives Representative Council. Luthuli was returned unopposed to the semi-defunct council in 1948. With the backing of the Natal ANC Youth League and Jordan Ngubane Ninkundla Yabantu, he advanced another step onto the national stage in early 1951 by narrowly defeating A.W. Champion to become the Natal provincial president of the ANC. His public support for the 1952 Defiance Campaign brought him finally into direct conflict with the South African government, and after refusing to resign from the ANC, he was dismissed from his post as chief in November 1952. During the Defiance Campaign, Chief Luthuli was actively involved in soliciting and recruiting volunteers. He was particularly active on the East Rand where, along with Oliver Tambo, addressed numerous meetings on different occasions. He made numerous trips to the East Rand during the campaign, visiting Katlehong, Thokoza, and Tsakane outside Brakpan. The Defiance Campaign in these townships coincided with numerous popular protests such as bus boycotts, squatter movements, and industrial strikes. These interactions brought him into contact with leading trade unionists in the region and helped him raise his profile as a potential national leader. Following his dismissal as Grootville chief, Luthuli published The Road to Freedom is Via the Cross, which is arguably the most well-known declaration of his non-violent beliefs. He believed that apartheid degraded everyone involved and that white people would eventually be forced to change their minds and embrace a common society. Chief Luthuli was an obvious choice to succeed ANC President James Moroka, who attempted to distance himself from other defendants during his trial during the Defiance Campaign. Due to his notoriety from his dismissal, his eloquence, his unquestionable character, and his proven loyalty to the ANC. At the annual conference of December 1952, Chief Luthuli was elected ANC President General by a large majority. Bans imposed in early 1953 and renewed in the following year prevented him from giving direction in the day-to-day activities of the Congress. But as a country-bred man of the people, combining the most inspiring qualities of Christian and traditional leadership, he became a powerful symbol for an organization struggling to rally mass support. He was re-elected President General in 1955, and in 1958, although bans confined him to his rural home throughout his presidency, he nevertheless was able to write statements and speeches for presentation at ANC conferences, and occasional circumstances permitted him to attend conferences personally. He was arrested for treason in December 1956, but following the pre-trial examination, he and 60 other people were freed in late 1957. On the day of the Sharpeville shooting in 1960, he was testifying in Pretoria after being called as a defense witness. Between his release at the end of 1957 and May 1959, when a new ban confined him to the Lower Tugela district for 5 years, he experienced a time of relative freedom. He gave several widely reported addresses to both white and mixed audiences during this period of relaxation, culminating in a visit to the Western Cape. Many white people praised him for his well-crafted remarks and fair arguments for racial harmony. Not everyone had a sympathetic response. A mob of young Afrikaners attacked him and knocked him off the platform during a conference in Pretoria. Almost from the beginning of his presidency, Chief Luthuli was confronted by critics warning that he was allowing himself to become a tool of the ANC's left wing. Due to the circumstances of his restriction, he was unable to closely supervise the activities and movements of other ANC leaders, but he was realistically aware of the problems and hardly the native figure that some critics said he was. His reply was always to defend the right of people of all ideological persuasions to play their part in the struggle for African equality and to support the Multiracial Congress Alliance as the foundation of a future integrated society. In ideological terms, he personally expressed a preference for socialism of the type espoused by the British Labour Party. It was generally believed until recently that Chief Luthuli started the armed conflict when he returned to South Africa after being awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. Since then, it has become clear that he had mixed feelings about the shift to military conflict. Scott Cooper claims that liberation movement icons, political parties, and politicians exploit his domestic and worldwide fame and flawless moral character to defend, in part, their past acts and their contemporary significance upon a fabricated historical memory. According to Cooper, Chief Luthuli's political career was bound by faith, which is why he opposed the start of violence in December 1961. On July 21, 1967, Chief Luthuli was reportedly struck by a train and passed away, an account that was long questioned by his family and supporters who suspected the apartheid government had been involved in his death. An inquest held in the months after his death found that he had died from injuries after being hit by a train and that there was no evidence of criminal culpability on the part of the South African Railways or anyone else. Alright guys, I must stop here for now because I want to do a separate video on his death because there's a lot that happened with different inquests leading to the recent inquest year 2025 and its findings. So I must stop here for now and we'll get into all that in a separate video.